Hi, I'm Saeri Wilde, and I'm here with Tatiana Sakurai, who I love to call Tati. It sounds
Hi.
like a party. So Tatiana is on my dream team for the New Year Ascension um, event intensive that I'm putting on in January called Becoming the Gift You Are. And I have a few different people I'm working with. And Tatiana is one of the key people because she's offering everyone a session with her for belief clearing. And so we're going to talk today about what the fuck is going on. And this kind of urgency that many of us, and if you're watching this, you're probably resonating with this, are feeling to just come into who we are, to provide our gifts, to be who we are, because it's like there's this chain reaction going on that's going to just release a bunch of people. I'm talking about freedom. We're both kind of preachers. So before we go into that, though, I just want to welcome you, Tati. Thank you so much for being here, and also invite you to share anything you would like about who you are and what you do.
Thank you, Saeri. So grateful to be here and to be joining with our hearts and minds and whoever else is going to be jumping into this phone call with us or this recording with us in the future. So hello, everybody. I'm Tatiana, and I've been doing work with the human energy field through energy work, light work, consciousness teachings for about 10 years now. 2007 is when I started. So I started before the big ascension shift that we all saw happen at the end of 2012 and really started kicking in 2013. And that was a big expansion that I saw in the energy fields of the people that I was working with. And we're experiencing another shift like that now. So I'm really excited to be working with Saeri and working with you in this program, those of you who are feeling called to join us. The work that I do is a combination of energy work and consciousness tools. So not only clearing the energy field of things that we've already created, things that we're already have manifested in our fields, but also consciousness tools to be able to make a top-down shift in our awareness so that we're creating something new moving forward. So I like to work it from both directions, and I do a lot of coaching, counseling, teaching, and I'm working on writing a book right now. And I also do a lot of energy work, a lot of clearing, a lot of multidimensional stuff, clearing on all different kinds of levels. And I love working on clearing people's beliefs because I feel like that is one of the key components of how things are created back to the root cause. So as we all know, if we don't dig out those roots, then we'll just keep manifesting the same energy patterns over and over again. So I'm really passionate about this work. And like I said, I've been doing it really consistently for 10 years, and I'm excited to do it with you.
Yay, so succinct. I love it. So yeah, Tati is amazing at what she does, and I love it because it's like it's a pretty woo-woo realm, and it can sound that way, but this woman is just like, it's so freaking grounded and practical. Like I've been sharing this story, and I think I'll share it many more times, about the last time that you and I met. And Tati was serving me. She was helping me clear some beliefs. I'm pregnant. I'm single all of a sudden. Like, shit is going down. And we were looking at my family line, and this just kind of came up, like, my family thinks that it's cursed. Ha 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 ha. We're looking at my mother's line. And for one thing, and we'll be doing some of this later so you can hear what she does. We're going to be doing it for the collective. But she asked me some really pointed questions about, if I wanted to let it go and invalidate and uncreate it or whatever. And I was like, yeah. And then we just laughed. We laughed for like, I don't know. It must have been at least 10 minutes. And we were making fun of the curse. So spontaneous stuff like that happens. Like, she has all these tools, but she's like really wields them in such a unique way that's very disarming, and it makes it easy to let go. So thank you so much. That was an incredible gift and surprise. I never thought of clearing a curse by laughing at it.
Yeah. One of my favorite mottos for myself is, if it's not light, it's not light work.
But
So I think it is important to bring in that lightness, especially with some of the energies we're talking about. Like the frequency is just so heavy, and if you're empathic and you're feeling just all this stuff in the collective, stuff through the ancestral line, it's really, can drag you down. So I like to just, keep it light, hold it very lightly. Like, even as we're dealing with things that are pretty intense, not to deny the intensity of it or to deny our feelings, but just as a way of transmuting the energy. Mm-hmm. And I love that I could be talking about the weirdest, darkest shit, and we could just laugh about it together.
I love that too. And how appropriate, because we are in Mercury retrograde right now. And now I know, like, quite a few people are like, Mercury retrograde, astrology, whatever, but like, you gotta admit, like, shit's been funky. And especially with the technology, which I find really validating, actually, because there's like all these other layers of, in Mercury retrograde, it's like communication, technology, shit breaks. It was gonna break. It's just like breaking now. It has that extra pressure and it can't withstand it. But the technology is really validating for me for the other things I'm feeling, beliefs breaking down, that like, okay, yes, something's going on right now, and it can get really heavy. And, see a lot of suffering coming up as people are releasing. And a lot of times we have those beliefs that something is wrong when things are breaking down. Mm-hmm. Do you want to say anything about that?
Yeah. So as they say in Access Consciousness, what's right about that? So everything that we judge as being right or wrong or good or bad, it's just something that we made up. All of these beliefs that we have are just things that we made up. And our judgments actually create a tremendous amount of entanglement and energetic cords and attachments. So a lot of times our ideas about things are what actually block us from creating what we desire. Our attachment to, oh, it has to look like this, or this is the wrong way, this is the right way. So I just invite all of us to be more in the flow of following the energy and just trusting in wherever it's flowing. Like, this just came up for me this morning, actually. I had planned to go out of town next week and facilitate a retreat, and I just found out that nobody had signed up. So I decided, you know what? I'm just going to cancel it now. And then I can, plan something else for this coming week, because I know I would rather be going to my martial arts classes and taking clients in person. But I'm just following the flow of the energy. Like, I'm not taking it personally that nobody signed up for the retreat. I'm not going into the wrongness of it. Instead, I'm being in the energy of, where is the flow happening? That's where I want to be. I want to be in the current of the flow of life. I don't want to be fighting it or trying to control or manipulate like what's happening in the collective or the universe. You know, I trust that there's a divine intelligence, that natural law is always in operation, and I can just jump on that and surf that wave, let it carry me and sustain me, instead of, you know, trying to force something to happen. It's just not happening. So I just am inviting everyone to feel into like, just where are you feeling the energy carrying you? And if it's to working with Saeri, working with me in this program, whatever it is, like just follow that. It's so important for us to follow the direction and the energy of where our hearts are leading us, where the synchronicities are happening, where the flow is happening. And instead of getting so attached to our ideas about what it's supposed to look like, because in this time of shift, the forms are going to change a lot. And so it's more important for us to follow the energy and not be so attached to the forms. And that's what I love about working with you, Saeri, is that you are like me in the sense that we are super open to just creating in the moment and following the energy. We're not trying to like make a session with a client look a certain way or follow a certain protocol. We're just following the energy in the movement, in the moment. And that's where a lot of magic happens. I mean, it's not even magic. It's not even really miracles. Like the miracle is that we shift into that mind state of infinite possibility and trust. And then the thing that happens because of that is just a natural occurrence. You know, there's nothing really magical or miraculous about it. It's just that's what happens when we be that willingness. So, woo! Oh, girl, don't get me going.
Oh, okay. Well, I heard you say like I'm calling you to, you know, go with the flow. So I just want to allow some just like moments to breathe, because I had to breathe deeply when you were saying that. And
yeah.
Whew.
Yeah.
Woo.
Yeah, so this is just coming up in the energy. Let's just address it. So everywhere where we are clinging to our ideas of controlling what everything in our lives look like, would we be willing to release that and be open to a possibility of creating something beyond our wildest imaginations? So everything that is, would we be willing to release it now? All of our grasping.
Mm-hmm. So if this is resonating with you and you want that and you feel a yes, then vibrate that yes, and maybe even say it out loud. Like I'm going to say, fuck yeah, I want that.
Yes. So I invite us all to feel into the energy of trying to control and manipulate everything and everyone in the universe to create something, a form of what we think would make us happy, versus the energy of being open to infinite possibilities and infinite intelligence that is co-creating with us something beyond this reality and beyond our wildest imaginations of our limited belief systems. So just, you know, feel into that. That's the choice that we have. And it feels scary sometimes. I totally get, like, I feel that. Like, I feel everyone going, but I don't know what it looks like. And I feel that in the collective right now. There's a lot of fear of the changes and shifts that are happening, and we don't know what's going to happen with the environment and with politics and with you know, so many things happening that there's a lot of fear around change. So I'm just inviting everyone to feel into a possibility of change being supportive for them. change being a natural and necessary part of growth. Yeah.
So I feel like digging into that a little bit.
Yeah.
Of like, what is change? Because we throw it around a lot. Like, oh, change this, change that. But then like when it comes down to it, because, you know, when I'm working with people, I see this, it's like they're asking for it. And then when they get right up and it's time in that scary zone, and I am not above this. Like I said, I'm pregnant and single. You think that might bring up some shit. It does. It brings up all the shit. But that moment when you're actually gonna do it, which is always the present moment, no?
Yeah.
What is that? Like, what is change, you know? Because what happens is, that grabbiness, that clinging to like, well, this sort of worked in the past, so I'm just gonna like hold on to that for dear life. And maybe that can carry me through the change. And it's like, that does not work.
Yeah, I mean, I even run into this, like, changing a state of being in bed to being out of bed. For like not washing the dishes to washing the dishes. You know, there's like inertia. There's this natural resistance that comes up. So let's all just be compassionate with ourselves and be real. Like, this shit happens. I don't know anybody who's above this. And we get to witness this. So we get to observe ourselves, be compassionate with ourselves, and hold ourselves in a space of, I get it, babe. Like, there's a natural resistance to, you know, getting up, making your bed, doing the dishes, you know, quitting your job or whatever it is. Like, you know, for spirit, there's no level of difficulty. It's all the same. But we think that there's, you know, that there's this difficulty. We think that, you know, we buy into the idea that, you know, uncertainty is undesirable. So if we're changing from one state to the other, who knows what's going to happen, you know? And we do this all the time, and that resistance is natural. I mean, we're seeing the resistance in our collective, all of the crazy shit that's coming up in politics and in the world, and all the shadows that are coming up. They've, you know, it's stuff that's always been there, but it's coming up in response to the shift in consciousness that's happening. We are progressing, we are evolving, we are ascending in vibration, we are becoming more and more aware and enlightened, and because of that, we're seeing all this stuff come up for healing. So, you know, that is the resistance to the change that's happening. You know, all the alt-right stuff is like the resistance to, you know, the progression of consciousness. So like in design, we call that, because there's a human design element to this program that, you know, we're working on together. That's the conditioning. You know, and the conditioning is always happening. Like, here's a personal example for me. Like, I'm a projector. I'm not designed to work. Like, Tati is a generator. Most people are generators, not that you all are the same by any measure. But essentially, you know, generators have that energy to go every day, hopefully for what satisfies them. Because when a generator is in insatisfaction, it's like polluting the whole life force frequency of the planet, because you are creating it, right? Which is why I super appreciate people like you, Tati. You get so clean. But like, so there's a lot of conditioning for me to work. And like, you know, you could consider what I'm doing right now work. I have my coaching work and guidance and human design, but it's guidance. It's different, you know, like leadership and administrative, you know, kind of just guiding processes and systems rather than doing like building things, you know. And so I already have a shit ton of pressure and conditioning from my life, and just the planet saying like, that's what I have to do. And then I realized, like, recently, like my family doesn't get what I'm doing. And they're like, you need to get a job. So here's some beliefs. Like,
there's another person coming through now, and you have to get a job, you have to do things you don't want to do to support this being coming in. And so not only do I have just like the energy of work, but then it's like externalized and being like put at me, right? So that was a little bit of a digression, but that's what's going on in the collective, is like all these different kinds of conditioning and pressures and beliefs. And then we tell them to each other, and we're like validating them, right? So we're keeping we're as much as we can trying to keep those beliefs, which is like the belief's desire is to just exist, right? Which is a weird concept. And when we talk about wanting to change something, it's like, well, we want it to change, but not let go of this belief system because it's telling us that we need it.
Yeah, and it's shit that we made. These are our little things that we made. And so how attached do we get to the things that we make? You know, we're like, oh, but I made that. Even if it's like some totally malformed crap, you know, it's like completely dysfunctional. We're like, oh, but I made that. You know, so yeah, I think that there's like this a lot of belief in lack that people have been putting energy into for a long time. The belief in separation, lack, limitation. More for me is less for you, all this stuff, you know, where we wait just a minute. Yeah, I just have to clear the energy around that because I just got really unconscious when I felt a big wave of.
So are you all watching this? Just feel your body and notice where you might have a match with Tati or me on anything.
Yeah. Yeah, so
exhales are good.
Everywhere where we bought into the lies of separation. I'm just feeling so much grief coming up around this. There's a lot of ancestral healing that is happening with healing these wounds around the lie, the belief in separation. Yeah. So this is something interesting I think we can all feel into too, is that, and it helps us to have compassion for ourselves when we recognize we're not just doing this work for ourselves. You know, every time we choose to break through a limitation or to uncreate a limiting belief, and these things that, you know, like Saeri was saying, they have their own energy. You know, we're putting energy into these things, into these beliefs. They seem to have their own life. They don't really, because they're lifeless without us investing our energy into it. Just like the whole like belief system and separation seems really real. Our egos seem really real until we pull our energy out of it. Then we see that it's just lifeless. It only appears to have life because we put energy into it. But we can have a lot of compassion for ourselves when we understand not only is there a tremendous amount of energy invested in all of these forms of these different beliefs, but also we're clearing stuff for our ancestors so hugely. I mean, it's been such a big theme lately with the energy expansion that we've seen, and I'll talk about that in just a second, but just know, like, what we're doing, it's really deep, and it seems like it's just this individual personal process, and it is. We need to take full responsibility for just this right here, but it has a huge ripple out effect, and it goes through our entire bloodline for all of our ancestors, all of our descendants. goes through all dimensions of time and space. It's healing like in other realities, like our other lives in other realities and dimensions. So it's really huge, and it heals the collective too. So it's really huge. Everything we're doing is not just a tremendous service to ourselves, to our ancestors, to our descendants, but also our multidimensional selves and the collective overall. So I just want to recognize each and every one of us for stepping into this space of doing this work for ourselves and how important it is for the world right now.
Yeah.
And I wanted to talk about that energy field expansion, but did you have something you wanted to add to that, Saeri?
Yeah, well, for one thing, I just want to invite you and everybody watching to take a breath, or let's take 3 breaths together. Exhale. One more. And then I invite you to keep breathing, y'all.
Yeah.
As I am saying that for myself too. There's a couple things I want to address. For one thing, we were going to end in like 3 minutes, and I'm okay with going longer. Are you?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, cool. And then I want to say hello to mind, like the little mind that is, I call it grabby. And I think you said something to that effect earlier. Some word like that. Because, so you can probably feel the energy getting really ramped up between the two of us. Like, she's a generator, I'm a projector, I'm amplifying her, focusing on her. She's like preaching gorgeously. And so, I mean, we're in a time of seeking a lot of answers and solutions. And it's tricky because they start to come in like legitimately. And maybe you could call it higher mind, or you could call it your design, or, you know, higher self, or just truth, or whatever you want to call it. But the mind is very adaptable. And so and it wants to help. Bless its mind heart. It wants to help. And it's trying to get on board, but it cannot run this show. And so what happens a lot of times is that it's like, okay. Yeah, I got all the information. Cool. I got it. I can take over from here. I've got the reins again. And that's not the point of any of this. Like, the name of this program, for one thing, is Becoming the Gift You Are. It's not like chasing down and tackling it. It's becoming. You are it already. So there's that. And then I also heard you say ego. So for those of you into design, I just want to address it. Is it okay if I bring up your chart real quick, Tati?
Sure, yeah, and I use ego more in A Course in Miracles context, not in a human design context. So it's probably good to clarify that, is that I am not a student of human design, so my language will be different than Saeri's. So I think it's good to
which is why I want to address this, because actually it is quite transferable. And I want to point this out, especially because look at Tati there. So she's been speaking to us through her intuition. She's here through her sacral. She and I had she's emotional, so you know, we've taken lots of time for her to go through her wave to know she wants to be here. But like, look at her open center. She has a completely open ego. So, and she's becoming very wise about ego. So that's what it is. These white areas, for those of you super new to design, are where you take in the other and you amplify them. Tati's a great teacher of mind. All this stuff about beliefs and ego and identity and pressure on both sides. These are both pressure centers. So I have a defined ego. And when we're talking about ego, it's energies of competition, money, tribal energy, resources. We tend to kind of bash ego these days a lot. And, and I imagine there are probably some people from our Facebook group for Yaya and I have a Facebook group called Big Healthy Ego that's for defined egos. And it's funny because Nizar, you can probably see my screenshot. She's our one undefined ego that we let in. Because she's an amazing teacher of ego as a reflector. But all right, I want to stay grounded in what we're talking about here. 30% or so of people have it defined. So most people have it undefined. I mean, Tati has a kind of remarkable one, being that it's completely open. She has no gates coming off of it. So if you have this little triangle white in your chart, like, you have nothing to prove. You making promises is, unless it's completely by who you are, like Tati agreed to be here today, and I actually was late, which is kind of rare for me as a defined ego. But she took time to feel into it, and she knows me really well too, so there's like some wave experience for her there. But she made the decision based on who she is. But there's all this pressure to make promises, to prove yourself, to compete. And it's just not your trip. I mean, you get to play with those energies as they come in, but it's not who you are. It's inconsistent. So at the same time, like those of us who have defined egos, our work is to really clean up, because we get a little bit whacked by people compete with us a lot and try to prove themselves to us a lot, and we can start feeling really insecure, which is just really not in our nature as a defined ego. All right, I'm digressing a little bit, but I did want to address that because you said that about ego. And one other thing I wanted to say was that way back when you were talking about going with the flow of your program or your retreat that didn't sell any tickets. So there are a lot of people who are just embarking on doing this work or discovering even what it is they do. And I want to recognize that with Tati, like, you've had a lot of experience that validates that, there's nothing wrong with you when your retreat doesn't sell, right? So even though it's edgy, and even though it's a new, there's a change here in the way you go with the flow, you still have been experimenting, human design people, it's an experiment, experiencing over and over again, enough that your mind can relax a little bit and go, okay, I have seen this work in the past. I don't know what's going to happen. I don't know what is happening. However, I know I can trust it, because the first time something comes up like that, the mind is almost guaranteed to resist it, because it wants information. It wants validation. It wants safety. It's just trying to keep you safe. And so there are these, like, it's the experience of stepping off the ledge into that trust, in the context of this program that we're offering. Like, if you're feeling a resonance with it, and your spirit, your soul, or whatever is like, you just feel like, oh fuck, maybe I need to be there. And then you have like this whole like slew of evidence from your mind that says why you can't be there or why there's something else you should do, and to just really come back to your frequency and to the truth and be like, wow, I just really don't know what's going on maybe, but am I willing to experiment with this and take a risk? And because what we're doing in this program is, it's all about you finding your own way with just a stellar support team. So that was my
Yes, yes. It is really all about experimentation and
Mhm.
keeping it light in like that energy of just try it and see, experiment, like find out for yourself. Like don't take my word for it. Don't take anyone else's word for it. Don't take your little mind's word for it. Like just really experiment with finding what's true for you. And it does, like Saeri was saying, it takes practice. Like it's easier for me now. I've been practicing trusting my guidance for 10 years, you know, on a daily basis. And so the advantage of working with somebody who's been practicing for a while is that they can share with you what works for them. It's not necessarily going to look exactly the same for you, but we can definitely teach you some tools and tricks and techniques. And I mean, my whole mission right now is to save people time. Not that anything is ever wasted. But you know, where did it go? It's all still in the oneness, you know, it didn't
Yeah.
go anywhere. So and everything, we get the benefit of the learning from it, for sure. So, you know, but I like to save people time spent in that space of kind of flailing and being so hard on themselves and struggling and being in the energy of that kind of confusion. I like to save myself time in that state. So, and I like to share that with everyone.
Well, a lot of us are just sick of it.
Yeah.
And you know, I know that, yeah, you're on an efficiency and empowerment trip. And so am I. Like, you know, we're not about telling people what they should do. You know, handing that authority back to people. However, it's like, how do you want to do this? You know, like one way that I look at it is that, like, if you like look at yourself on like a soul level and look at what your soul came here to do, or even like what your soul's whole purpose is over however many lifetimes, it's just like, I want to experience this. I want to create this. I want to be the cause of this, whatever it is. You could do that over like 1,000 lifetimes, or you could do it in one. And what I see has been going on is that we've been on like the snail track, and right now, like, we're to the point where enough of us have had enough, and are just like, okay, well, we've been learning that way, and it works. But I'm so tired of it. I'm tired of it. I don't need to suffer like that to learn anymore, you know? And we actually have like a collective tidal wave happening. It's sometimes hard to see because, like we were talking about earlier, like kind of these shit shows start to happen and we're like, oh shit, something's wrong. Things are wrong. Like, no. This is good. This is like massive movement. And I think this is what, you know, kind of full circle to where I started today. And even before we started the recording, I was like, I just feel this urgency. And in the past, I've been like, oh, of course, there's plenty of time, and there is no time. And, you know, there's no urgency, you know, not wanting to pressure myself or anybody else. But if I'm honest, like, I feel urgency. I want to do this shit now. I feel an opening happening right now, you know? So, you know, one thing I would like to get into this conversation while we're still here is that you and I were talking, you know, the last time we talked about this concept, which is the way I'm holding the container for this event and the way that you hold containers for your events and your classes, which is like, we don't know what's going to happen. And I just love to hear you talk about it too. So I'm curious if you have anything right now that you'd like to share about that whole approach.
Yeah. And honestly, it's something that I apply to every aspect of my life. So why wouldn't I apply it to, you know, the space of classes and things like that? So I think it's important for us to have a really good balance of the part of the structure and the planning and knowing that there are certain things that require structure, that require planning. Like, you know, I'm booking these sessions, like I'm planning that. I have a calendar, I have a schedule, I pay these bills, et cetera, et cetera. Then there's things that we can't control or plan for, like a lot of external events, like the bigger energies that are moving through. And so it's important to hold space for that. And also that kind of non-linear, nonsensical, non-logical part of our own minds, you know. So there's like the part that's can do linear, can do structure, and then the part that doesn't do that. So if we're not really holding space for both of those aspects of our consciousness, then we're really missing out, you know. So it's that structure and non-structure. So I will create a structure for a class or a session. I might have an idea of where I think, you know, it's going to go, or, you know, kind of where I'm feeling like, okay, this is what I would like to deliver. You know, I might talk to a client and say, okay, here's what we'd like to accomplish in this session. Or in a class, I say, here are the tools that I'm going to teach in this class. Now, where it goes from there, I just am going to follow the energy of it. But also within that, know where, you know, okay, we're going to rein this in, and like we're, you know, attempting to do that on this call by saying, okay, like let's have a time boundary and rein it in, because I mean we could just go on and on forever, right? But it's that finding that balance that I think is really important. And in our culture as a whole, we don't honor that non-logical part of ourselves. So it's important for us to go, okay, you know, here's the planning aspects, you know, how do I make the time for this, the money for this, et cetera. You know, it's like we figure those things out with that part of our brain, but the part where all of the inspiration and the magic and the juice comes from, that doesn't make any sense. And you can't plan for it. Like when it comes through, it's coming through. And it's important for us to honor that, to honor when it's coming through, and to honor when it's not there. And it's nothing that anyone else can tell you. It's something you feel within yourself. So that's why we just keep talking about how important it is to honor that feeling of you don't understand it, you can't explain it, you can't prove it. It just feels like the truth. And that's how the truth is. The truth isn't trying to prove itself. It just is. So if anything we're saying feels true for you, go with it, you know, run with it. And if it doesn't feel true, no big deal.
Yeah. And this also brings it back to like, there's a I don't know, like a dance going on with the individual and the collective and the tribal too, which, you know, we recognize in design as the third circuitry. So like, say coming into a program like this, like there's me and Tati holding the space, and Yaya and Gary Muller, you know, this holding this bubble of creation that we are a part of too. But it's also like who comes into it brings that too. It's the chemistry and the engagement of each person involved. And so it's kind of this cauldron, and you know, like when we say like, well, we don't know what's going to happen here, like those of us who are holding the container for this particular event, but of course you could look at this on many different levels. You could look at it on a family level, on collective level, organizational level. We're following our sense of it. We're stepping into the mystery of, we don't know if anybody's going to show up in this bubble. Although people are showing up, but it's not going to work for someone who wants to just go in the bubble to be transformed and not do their own work.
Mm.
You know, so
Yes.
and that might be the weight that, you know, can come up when, like, so you might feel a resonance and then go, ooh, I don't know what that entails, but I feel like there's something big. And if you're in the mindset of somebody's going to do it for you, yeah, you're probably not going to even do the thing because you will inherently know that it won't work. And that's where you might be missing the value of a space like this, is if you really get honest with yourself about, like, you know, if I want this thing to change in my life, I want to be like radiating who I am. I know I have a gift for the world. There are people out there waiting for it. I have a part to play, but then, you know, you're not valuing that to walk through that fire yourself, then that's okay. You know, it's just like, I would call you to be honest if you are, you know, really on a soul level ready to go for another trip around, you know, what is it? I don't know. I'm getting like a track picture. There's like this like loop or something.
Yeah.
You know, just to learn like one little piece, just so that you can like come back to like, oh yeah, it's this again, you know?
Yeah, and no judgment. I mean, we all get to stay on the tracks that we choose as long as we choose it. But if you're ready to up level, if you're ready to really step into the gift that you be just by being you without all of the limiting beliefs and all the other crap in your space, like if you really want to liberate yourself, then there are people like Saeri and I that can help you and hold space for you. But ultimately, we are co-creating an experience. Like everybody that comes into the space with us is another energy that's contributing to this creation of the program. So I honor everyone who is coming to be the gift that they be, and together we're going to create something really awesome, a lot of liberation for ourselves and empowerment for ourselves, and just holding space for us to know that, yeah, we're doing this, we're choosing this, and it's happening. And it's really powerful when we come together and amplify each other's energy in that way. It's really, really, and that's not to say like stuff isn't going to get triggered, like, but we'll have, the container will be there for processing that stuff, holding space for all that stuff. You know, yes, it's up to each one of us to do the work, but we don't have to do it alone. And it's really powerful. I mean, I work with other healers all the time because I do my own work constantly, all day long, every day. But I come together and I work with Saeri, I work with other healers because I know that we amplify each other. So coming into an intimate group with even a few more people is just going to amplify that even more. Yeah. It's exciting.
I was so excited. And I feel we're almost complete here.
Yeah.
And I'm just right back, this keeps happening, it's just right back to birth. And so, and this is what's so exciting to me is that, like, well, for one thing, I used to be a birth doula and I attend, you know, childbirth and work with pregnant women. And I started to see, abilingside, you know, being a yoga teacher at the time and then becoming a coach or a guide, whoa, everybody goes through it. It's the same, you guys. It's the same when you birth something as when a woman is literally birthing a child. It is the same. And we just haven't been recognizing that. Like even physical shit, even if you're a man, like birth it's a tool for humanity to discover their own tools, to be with intensity, to be with change, to be with transformation. And what I see time and time again, what I saw with birth clients, what I see with coaching clients, what I saw with yoga students, is that when people get into that space and they really just come down to being with themselves and being with their bodies and letting that intensity move and birthing it, it is release. It's receiving, and it's releasing. You discover your own tools. You make shit up. Mm-hmm. It's so beautiful. And so like we've been cut off from that wisdom. You know, most of us never get to see a birth in a lifetime or a death, except for our own, you know, and so I've got baby Star here in my womb, like really grounding the truth of this, of like, what are we really going through? Because when you actually have a human in you that you know is going to have to get out, you start doing things differently. So what if whatever it is that you're birthing actually were a human inside your body? Like, how might that affect the decisions that you make and how you be? If you really like honored this thing coming through, which, you know, I mean, ultimately it's you pregnant with yourself, you know? So.
Yes, 1,000 times yes. I really resonate with that because I'm working on bringing this book through. And it became really clear to me over the last couple months that things had to get cut away to make space for this creation. And so I just, you know, we as infinite beings have infinite time, infinite energy, infinite everything. But in this configuration of this incarnation, we have to focus and choose the things that we really want to bring through. And it's just us being us, essentially. And everything that comes out of that is just an extension of us. But we really need to focus on how we're going to spend our energy, you know? So whatever that is for all of us, I invite us to really give ourselves permission to focus our time and our energy and our money or resources for this body that has finite resources. Invest it in something that really is going to feel like the biggest expression of us, whatever that is. Yeah.
Beautiful.
Or just keep fucking around. I don't know.
Yeah, that sounds pretty fun.
No judgment. It's all for our learning, you know?
I love that in design too. Everything's like, oh, it's this way or not.
Isn't that the truth though? The truth is that nothing matters and everything matters. So there's just it's like a Zen koan, you know? That's life.
Yep.
I'm feeling the energy winding down. I just wanted to acknowledge that I said I was going to talk about the field expansion, but it doesn't feel like I need to do that right now.
Okay.
But if anybody is interested, they can certainly go to my Instagram feed where I've been talking about it for the last few months, and you can see all the videos that I've posted about it.
Cool.
So it's my name. So it's at Tatiana Sakurai. And my name is TatianaSakurai. And you can find that spelling on Saeri's site. And you can, if you search my name, all my stuff comes up if anybody wants to learn more about that.
You dominate your Google search. So hey, if you resonate with Tati and like she does great work, you can connect with her. You know, she does online classes, she does in-person classes in Portland, Oregon. She has a book coming out, and if you're really lucky, you might get a one-on-one session with her online because I know you're super booked. And yeah, her website is also her name, TatianaSakurai.com, correct?
Yep.
Cool, cool. And if you are feeling a tickle to be a part of this project we're doing together, get in touch with me and we'll talk. And we'll help you find out, hold space for you to find out. And Tati, if anybody wanted to talk to you about it, are you open to that, or would you rather I do that?
I'm totally open to that, and I am totally open to free phone consultations. If you go to my website, there's a button there where you can go to my scheduler and pick a time to do a free phone consultation. If you don't find something that works for you, feel free to shoot me an email, shoot me a text, and I'll see when I can work it in for you.
Cool.
Yeah.
Cool. And yeah, all of this is you could do it or you could not.
It doesn't matter. And it does. It totally matters.
Oh my gosh, I love you so much. Thank you for being here with me today and taking this time to just play and explore and preach.
Yeah. So fun. I can't wait to do more.
I know, me too. We have so much fun. And yeah, thank you to those of you watching. And I hope that this has been valuable for you. And thank you for being a part of it, because whether, you know, whenever you're watching this, you're contributing to it. So, you know, how do you see yourself in what came through? There's a trippy idea to think of.
Yeah. Yes.
Okay. Oh, and my site is innerglowing.com. I'm Saeri Wilde. I'm on Facebook quite a bit, more than my past self was ever comfortable with it, but I do have a good time there. And yeah, you can get in touch with me through Facebook, Saeri Wilde. It's Saeri, Wilde with an E on the end. Or go through my site, innerglowing.com. And you can book a 30-minute talk with me in a number of places on my website. So go and do that. If you don't find a time that works for you, just message me. All right. That's all for today.
Thanks, everybody. Bye.
Bye-bye.